So I have just been through a domestic violence situation with a man who I thought that I was in love with for approximately 2 years. And it turns out that he was nothing but a narcissist. And I didn't know it until the last 7 months that we were together. I was the second girl who got assaulted by this man in 2 years. I was the second girl who filed an order of protection against this man in 2 years. This is the second time in 2 years where he's had to turn over his weapons to the county of Maricopa in Arizona, which he has secretly hidden a couple of his weapons, and he's gotten his friends and family to hide a couple of his weapons for him as well. That being said, this guy's name is Aaron Osborn, and the system has let me down. The system, by that I mean the law, has let me down and seems to be giving Mr. Osborn more leniency than the respect that I deserve being a victim of his. Not only the first victim, but the second victim. Thank you. So this is my victim impact statement. Just so you guys all know, I will be showing pictures of what he did to my back. So they're a little hard to look at. Me looking at what he did to my back, it sends me into a downward spiral, and it pretty much sends me into a state of depression. So because the system, the law has failed me, and they're only making him take domestic violence classes, which he's already taken from his first victim, and the fact that they only told him that he has to stay out of trouble for 6 months with the law, not acceptable in my eyes. So this is why I'm making the video, and this is why my victim impact statement needs to be known publicly against Aaron Osborn, who actually used to work for Maricopa County Sheriff's Office for 6 years and decided to quit based on his domestic violence actions to his baby mama, who was his first victim. She also tried to file a felony charge against him, and the system failed her. And all Aaron Osborn had to do for the first time of domestic violence was take the domestic violence classes. That's it. He didn't have to do anything else. So that was 1.5 years ago. And now I'm the second victim in 1.5 years. And the system is failing me because they're telling him the same thing. All you have to do is take domestic violence classes. That's it. So here we go. And if the pictures get too gruesome or violent for some of you, you might need to stop the video and go on to something else. But here's my victim impact statement. I'll never forget the night my life changed for the worse because of Aaron Osborn. It was a Sunday, September 1st, 2019, our only day off of work together, and we decided to enjoy a relaxing day just at home on the couch. I figured we could do a movie marathon or take our dogs for a walk, but Aaron just wanted to drink the whole day and night. He started the day off mixing schnapps with lemonade, then turned to his whiskey, and then back to his mixed drinks. I decided to take it a little easier than him with only having lemonade with a half shot of schnapps. When Aaron saw me making my drink, he kept demanding that I make him his drinks as well. He would come over to see how much alcohol I poured into his drink, commenting by saying, "That's it, come on, make it a manly drink." Then make me pour in more from the bottle of schnapps. As we sat on the couch, Aaron began to enter his drunk phase by joking around with, like, elbowing me in my side or trying to grope my breasts as much as he could. I told him not to do that, but he kept groping me and intentionally trying to make me upset. Eventually, this led into an argument between us because I couldn't handle him joking around. He said he wanted more fun and that you're not fun enough. Then walked into the kitchen to check on the Italian sausage that he was cooking. I followed him in the kitchen, told him that he knew I didn't like when he was like this, told him that if he's if that's all he wanted was just to have fun, then he needed to break up with me. And I also told him that he knew it was his fault for me not being what he wanted anymore. After hearing this during a mid-drink, he threw his cup half full of alcohol across my kitchen, causing a hole in one of the cabinets and cracking his cup in the process. So these are pictures of the cabinet that he destroyed. I don't know if you guys can see the hole that he damaged by throwing his cup against my cabinet, which is costing me $300 to $400, which is part of his restitution that I have to request that he pays. After hearing this during the drink, he threw his cup half full of alcohol across the kitchen, causing a hole in one of the cabinets and cracking his cup. He then began to yell at me and curse at me, saying things like, if you don't stop with this fucking bullshit, you're going to make me regret doing something. And I told you, if you fight with me, I'll tear you apart and make you feel like you're the biggest piece of shit in the world and I'll win, end quote. He also then went on to say, quote, I pride myself on being an asshole, so now you get asshole Aaron, and once he's out, there's no getting him back in. I stood in my normal fighting corner, just at the entrance to the kitchen, head down and silent, taking his abuse like I did every other night for 7 months. I perked up when I heard Aaron ask where his truck keys were at, to which I answered that they were upstairs attached to his work pants. I knew that in his state of inebriation, he would not be able to drive safely anywhere. I saw him quickly run upstairs, so I followed him, explaining to him, no, Aaron, please, you can't leave like this. You're drunk. Both of us have been drinking. Neither of us can drive anywhere. I was worried for his safety and the safety of others, since we lived in a community full of kids who always played outside, and I didn't want him to injure himself or others. I was so scared that he was going to drive drunk and tried to talk him out of getting his keys. Something I said must have gotten his attention, because at the top of the staircase, he turned around to face me. He began to put his hand in my face in what the military calls a knife hand manner, and kept walking aggressively inside my personal space. This caused me to try to quickly walk backwards, my right arm outstretched against him, trying to gain distance between us. I told him multiple times to stop coming at me and to stop getting in my face. During this conflict, he kept saying, listen here, you little bitch. I'm a grown-ass man and I can do what the fuck I want to do. So shut the fuck up and go fuck yourself, you stupid cunt. He then grabbed my right hand, which was still outstretched, and squeezed my hand as hard as he could. I screamed out in an agonizing pain until I almost had my knees on the ground before he let go. He went to fetch his keys from his work pants while I stood there holding my hand in pain, tears beginning to well up in my eyes. He then quickly emerged from our room and began to head down the stairs. I saw the key in his hand, and fear set in again of him driving drunk and hurting himself or others, especially children. I was right behind him going down the stairs, pleading with him not to drive and to hand me his key so he would be safe. He stopped midway down the staircase and grabbed my shoulders, attempting to push me down the stairs in front of him. He pushed me up against one of the staircase side rails and said, you go first then, bitch, to which I responded, no, you will not push me down my own stairs in my house. He pushed me behind him so he could go down the stairs first. Aaron was walking to the garage while I kept begging him not to drive and to not leave. He said to me, God, shut the fuck up already. You're just like every other veteran motherfucker who has to be on meds because they can't handle the shit they've seen and use meds as a fucking crutch. I got over shit I've seen on my own without meds and it turned out just fine. Why don't you just go pop a fucking Lexapro and shut the fuck up? I stood there clutching my right hand, feeling the throbbing and pulsating pain, while Aaron opened the door to the garage and armed his truck. He began to walk back to the kitchen, passing me in the hallway and said, there, I'm not fucking driving, so shut up. All I could utter out of my mouth was, why? Why did you grab me? Why did you hurt me? What is wrong with you? Just because I didn't understand what was going on? Why the man I loved for 2 years and gave everything to was physically hurting me on purpose? Aaron became angry and lost control. He turned around immediately, repeated his actions that he did upstairs. He got his knife hand right in my face to where his fingers were touching my nose, moved quickly and aggressively into my personal space, and began yelling at me. He began yelling, quote, because I'm so sick and tired of you and your fucking bullshit. I can't stand you anymore. You're the fakest person I've ever met and I fucking hate you. You haven't even seen what pain is, but you walk around here acting like what you've been through is so damn painful. You want pain? I'll show you pain, so don't make me. While he was yelling this in my face, I did what I did upstairs. I put my left arm out in front of me so that I could create distance between us, just like this. Aaron and I began to step backwards as fast as I could. I repeated multiple times for Aaron to stop getting in my face and to step back. He got sick and tired of me saying that, so he grabbed my left hand and squeezed it as hard as he could. I screamed in pain. I could feel the blood pumping and rushing to where he was squeezing. This time, the pain was so intense that it did actually bring me to my knees, fully on the ground. Only then did Aaron let go and walk into the kitchen. I knelt there for a minute, both hands close to my chest, crying while Aaron made fun of me in the kitchen. He began mocking my cry and mocking the questions I had asked him about why he was hurting me. I couldn't take it anymore. I couldn't take the disrespect and him making fun of me for crying. I couldn't take the fact that he was hurting me and I didn't know what I did to deserve it. I walked to my fighting corner just at the beginning of the entrance of the kitchen and watched Aaron kneel down in front of the Tupperware cabinet. I saw his gun laying on the kitchen island and knew that if this fight was to progress in his state of absolute and totally uncontrollable anger mixed with his inebriation, it wasn't going to end with both of us alive. In fear of my life, I simply asked, does this mean you're done with our relationship? Aaron told me to, quote, shut the fuck up and leave me the fuck alone, you dumb bitch, end quote. I stood there and I said to him, no, Aaron, I want an answer. Does this mean you are done with this relationship? He yelled back at me, yes, I'm fucking done with you. I'm fucking done with this fucking shit. Something inside of me gave me the courage to walk right over to him, close the cabinet doors, and tell him, then get out of my house. He said, get the fuck out of my way. I repeated 3 more times for him to leave my house. Each time he would say louder and louder, get the fuck out of my way, until he was yelling. The last time I said, Aaron, get out of my house, he did not answer. Instead, he grabbed me under my armpits, digging his fingers into my shoulder blades. He picked me up so that my feet were dangling off of the ground. I looked at him and asked, what are you doing? He then threw me up against one of the kitchen entrance walls. I felt my backbone hit against the drywall, every vertebrae tingling and hot from the impact. I felt my right side of my back crunch against where the 2 edges met to form the corner of the wall. I could feel blood pumping to my lower back and middle back to try to protect the area from trauma. I felt my head hit and saw black for a second. I let out a blood-curdling scream and almost fell over, buckling my knees. I didn't know what he was capable of doing next. I never thought he would be capable of throwing me against a wall that was 10 feet away from where he stood, or thought that he was capable of cursing at me and calling me names. I saw the gun laying on the island still, and thinking that he might be capable of using it against me, I ran around the corner into the hallway near the laundry room. I quickly grabbed my phone out of my back left pocket of my shorts and noticed that the screen had cracks and bits of glass had fallen into my hand. I dialed 911 and began to give the dispatcher my address. Aaron looked around the corner from him, still being in the kitchen, and realized what I was doing. He grabbed the gun off the kitchen island in his left hand and ran upstairs to go hide it, trying to conceal it between his left side and the wall so I wouldn't see it. He ran back downstairs and out the front door, sitting down on the curb. Still on the phone with the 911 dispatcher, I requested an ambulance for my injuries, and she told me to stay on the line until police department showed up. As soon as Maricopa police officers arrived, they questioned us separately, me inside the house and Aaron outside on the curb. Firefighters arrived on scene and took my vitals. I told them what all was injured, but because I was crying hysterically and in a state of shock, I didn't have them examine my back. They asked me if I wanted to go to the hospital, and the police came up to me to inform me that Aaron was not going to be arrested. They told me that they were personally going to take him to the local Walmart in Maricopa and have him call for a ride there to go someplace else. I asked if there was a way for him to give me his house key, to which they responded no, because he was still a resident at my house. Not knowing where he was going for the night, knowing that he still had my house key, knowing that my mom lived 40 minutes away from my house meant that there was a strong possibility of Aaron coming back into my house and trashing it or packing up everything or stealing my puppy. Because of all these factors, I decided to not go to the hospital. The police officers did take pictures of my hands, then took Aaron away to supposedly go take a cool down period at the local Walmart. I was left in the house alone. Since his time away from my house, I've been in constant fear of my life, with firsthand knowledge of him, Aaron, hiding guns while he's had an order of protection against him, his history of assaulting his first girlfriend, and a relationship with MCSO due to him, his mother, and his father working there. I've reverted back to my Army combat training. I live every day of my life in a hypervigilant mode, enhanced state of sensory sensitivity accompanied by exaggerated behaviors, such as being tense or on guard 24/7, constantly scanning my surroundings for anything that is a reminder of the threat, and such high anxiety it causes complete exhaustion. I've gone so far as to booby trap my backyard gate, change the locks all over my house, do outside and inside perimeter checks every night and every single morning, and whenever I get home from the gym or running errands. I barricade my door in my bedroom whenever I go to sleep with dressers or nightstands or ladders. I clear every single room every morning and every night, and I've even had to change my work schedule since he knew my work truck and my work times. I have to take sleep aids just so I could try to get 4 hours of sleep before the nightmares wake me up. I have to sleep with the television on like I'm a little kid, and I have to have my best friend check up on me to make sure I made it through the night. I either wake up screaming about Aaron throwing me against my wall or wake up crying, remember Aaron leaving my entire back full of bruises. These are the bruises that he's left on my hands, on my back, and yet still Maricopa Police Department did not see fit that there were enough injuries that night on September 1st to arrest Aaron Osborn for him throwing me up against my kitchen wall and causing bruises on my back. All of these have been taken throughout the course of the 2 weeks that it took to have my back heal on its own. This was without going to the hospital, without checking for broken bones, or for bone bruising or anything of the sort, because they failed to arrest him. I've called the suicide hotline twice within the past month and a half, and I've had to have my medications upped to a higher dose. I've had to go home from work because the anxiety has just gotten too much for me to handle. After 7 months of abuse from Aaron Osborn, this was the final straw for me, yet I am the one suffering more than Aaron is. The 7 months of abusive behavior I endured from Aaron Osborn will forever be burned into my brain and my heart. I would constantly hear him call me stupid, retarded, dumbass, and bitch. He would tell me every time I cried at him, calling me those names, that I was too emotional. Then it became habit that no matter what emotion I showed in front of Aaron, he would deem me as too emotional. During the first month of us even dating each other, I saw red flags, but chose to give Aaron Osborn the benefit of the doubt because I didn't see the horrible things in him that his ex saw, even though she was a victim to them. She had filed an order of protection against Aaron and even took him to court for domestic violence. The order of protection stuck, and Aaron was forced to surrender his weapons to Maricopa County Sheriff's Office. However, upon me hanging out with him one day, he took me over to his best friend Chris Bryan's house. He showed me the ammunition and magazines that Chris was hiding for him. Then he told me he had his dad hide one of his rifles on his behalf. I offered to live with Aaron temporarily in his house in Tolleson to help him out with his payments, and he showed me the rifle and handgun he had hidden away in his closet. This was all while he was ordered by the courts to turn in all of his weapons. During our 4 months of living together in his house in Tolleson, Aaron had been ordered to go to domestic violence classes, which he could not afford on his own, so his mom paid for every single class. He ended up missing 3 classes, 1 because he forgot, and 2 because he didn't want to go. Somehow he graduated the classes early due to good behavior. As some time progressed, I purchased a house for both of us to live in since he had to sell his. He moved his guns into the new house with the order of protection still against him. During child exchanges, he would have a handgun hidden away in his truck. He became so comfortable with me that he even started drinking while he was driving. It was at this point that I knew he had no regard for safety for my life or for his daughter. He would pour 2 cans of Coors Light in a coffee mug, then bring 4 more into his truck to drink on our way to anywhere that we were going that day. There would be times when he would drink and drive with his daughter in the truck with us. She would see him popping open the Coors Light cans, then I would tell her to put on her seatbelt. He did this quite a few times, and I was just in shock because he didn't even value his own daughter's life. At one point, his daughter was over at our house, and she was refusing to eat her breakfast. Aaron got so mad at his 3-year-old daughter because she was refusing to eat the breakfast that he actually forced food into her mouth until she would start to cough, and then he would hold her upper and lower jaw closed until she swallowed the food. Every single weekend, his daughter would be forced to sit in front of the television in our living room while he was on his cell phone and would be playing games or texting or Snapchatting other girls, or he would force me to go upstairs into our bedroom to have sex with him while his daughter was downstairs watching TV by herself. He would constantly grope me by squeezing my breasts while we were driving anywhere or while we were in public. If I rejected him or told him I didn't like it, he would get mad at me and give me the silent treatment. One time, after being out and about with his daughter, we returned home only to find that his dog, Rudy, had gotten into a jar of pasta sauce that Aaron had left on the countertop. I had constantly told Aaron over and over again not to leave stuff on the counters, otherwise Rudy would get into them, whatever it was. We walked into the kitchen to find pasta sauce and broken glass everywhere. I told his daughter to stay out of the kitchen because of the glass. Aaron had gotten so enraged at what Rudy had done that he picked Rudy up by his choke collar and pinned him up against my dishwasher. He then began to punch Rudy as hard as he could in his snout. I yelled as loud as I could for Aaron to stop and that Rudy did not deserve that. Aaron finally let go and took refuge on the couch. I looked at Aaron and told him that he didn't deserve Rudy as a pet, and the next time I saw him do that, I was going to do the same thing to him and call the police. Once I received my puppy Kira from my best friend in December of 2018, I told Aaron that she would never be alone with him, and I worked out a deal with my mom to babysit my puppy when I was at work, so Aaron would not get an opportunity to beat her like he beat his own dog. The entire time that he was abusing and beating the crap out of his dog, Rudy, his daughter stood at the entranceway to our kitchen and watched the whole thing. I attempted to tell her to go watch TV in the living room, but she stood there frozen in fear and in trauma. Another incident in which his daughter witnessed abuse from her father, Aaron Osborn, was when he left me to babysit her due to him having a training session at his work, Banner Behavioral. After he left, I realized that he had not left me with any diapers for his daughter. I texted him about it, and he said he was on his way home. At the time, I had $5 in my bank account and no cash on me, so I couldn't buy diapers for his daughter. I asked his daughter if she wanted to wear underwear or the pull-ups that she had. She told me she wanted to wear the pull-ups, so I put her in a pull-up. His daughter had peed in the pull-up, so I changed her out of it and realized that she was getting a rash. I put her in the tub to clean her up, then put her in a brand new pull-up with rash cream on her, hoping that it would go away. I was also planning on going to the store with Aaron when he got home so we could buy his daughter diapers. He came home and saw that his daughter was wearing a pull-up. He immediately began yelling and screaming at me that I was stupid and I was a dumbass. I explained to him that he didn't leave me with any diapers for his daughter, which his response was I should have gone out and bought them at the store for his daughter. I told him I didn't have the money and he had her car seat in his truck. He blamed me, saying I should have let her run around naked and let her pee on my couches. He then kept calling me a dumbass, to which I told him that he's teaching his daughter how women should not be treated, and if he wanted to yell at me, we needed to fight in our loft upstairs so it was away from his daughter. His daughter was watching TV while Aaron and I went up to the loft. He threw himself in his lazy boy recliner and jumped on his phone, starting to text people. I asked him at least 6 different times to please put down his cell phone since we were arguing and I considered it disrespectful. He refused, and the last time I asked him to put down his cell phone, he told me to, quote, go fuck myself, unquote. I walked over to him and attempted to take the phone out of his hand. At this point, his daughter had come up the stairs and hid behind the banister at the top so that she could see us, but we couldn't see her. Upon me attempting to get Aaron's phone out of his hand, he kicked me in the stomach with his left foot. I buckled my knees to try to hold myself up from the pain, while Aaron stood up and started laughing at me, then went over to go pick up his daughter and attempted to leave the house with her. Even when Aaron Osborn and I were playfully roughhousing or joking around, he would always take it one step further by grabbing my wrists and squeezing them or twisting my wrists until he left bruises. I told him that he was hurting me, and every time his answer would be to, quote, stop being overly sensitive, unquote. Aaron Osborn wanted to know my whole world, inside and out, and save up all of my vulnerabilities to use against me when it would best suit him. He used my vulnerabilities, my world, as leverage to tear me apart and destroy me, literally breaking me down to pieces. Aaron Osborn made me feel guilty for every argument we had, and made me feel guilty for being more successful than he was. He became so entitled, thinking that he deserved what my successes were, that he would go to my work training sessions at Banner, smear my name, and slander me to others behind my back in hopes he could snag my canine officer job. No matter how hard I tried to give Aaron Osborn love and affection, he would never give me security in our relationship because if I didn't give him what he wanted, he purposely withdrew his affection. During our arguments, almost every single day living with Aaron Osborn, he would belittle and criticize me. If I proved him wrong, all hell for him would break loose, and he would refuse to admit any feelings or faults. He would constantly stonewall me, made me question myself all the time, wonder if I was too sensitive, constantly and unable to quit apologizing, thinking that I was doing everything wrong and that I wasn't good enough. Aaron Osborn forced me to lose my confidence, and I began to become unhappy for no reason. Aaron Osborn pointed out faults in me that he actually exhibited himself but would never take accountability for, demolishing my self-worth or my value. He would make disturbing comments, then tell me that I misunderstood him. He would soothe me and comfort me, then wound me as much as possible. He jumped into a shower I was taking after he kicked me in the stomach. He hugged me and told me that he loved me and everything was going to be okay. Aaron Osborn was master at creating this constant confusion, affectionately known as cognitive dissonance. It's where the brain literally cannot handle the two opposite realities, which causes high stress and extreme trauma. I failed to see this as him grooming me to accept his abuse, and I still loved him because it happened over time, slowly and insidiously. Aaron Osborn would always pin me against other people, such as my best friend, Libna, my best friend, Benny, his ex, Sarah, and even my own mother, Karen. He would lie and distort facts in order to suit his own agenda, even by talking poorly or by talking shit about his friends Chris Bryan and Zach Healy behind their backs, talking poorly and talking shit about his family like his dad and even his own mother. Aaron would constantly provoke me to argue and fight, then blame me for the fights because he loved that the drama fed his need for adrenaline and it made him feel alive. When I began to gain my confidence back, Aaron Osborn would always tear me down because he didn't want me to feel good about myself in fear that I would leave him. Aaron Osborn truly lived in a fantasy world, believing that he was superior to everybody else, being addicted to porn, flirting, and having affairs, and hiding it all because that's what he was addicted to. Think that this sounds a little bit too familiar? Wondering where you've heard all of these things before? These are all classic signs of a narcissist. This type of person, Aaron Osborn, will never show their true selves because they do too many horrible things that they don't want anyone to know about. So, after a relationship, they will conduct a huge smear story against the girl they were with by saying that the girl was too uptight, clingy, jealous, unfaithful, toxic, and controlling, while conveniently leaving out their abuse and their mistreatment to that girl. Aaron Osborn has successfully torn me apart by my worth and my confidence. He has emotionally murdered every fiber of my being in the privacy of my own home. The amount of trauma I have suffered at Aaron Osborn's hands can never be undone, just coped with. It is unfair that he walks around living happily while he leaves a mess of destruction in his wake. It started with one girl and he got off easy on that abuse charge. Now there's two girls and I am determined for his abuse to stop with me. 2 women, 2 orders of protections, 2 domestic violence allegations, 2 charges, 2 times he had to turn in his guns, 2 domestic violence classes that only made his anger and violence worse. When does this stop? What does it take to get a monster who is addicted to rage and hurting women to stop?